All right, guys. Well, here we go. As a beginner, I would say, because I've only been sort of 3 months into this rock sport thing, you can see I've tried a few of the. It's a lot of questions. What's the best pick set to get? What do I get? What do I start off with? And I started off with a cheap set of Take a Lot. It came with a hell of a lot of picks. They're not great. They do need a bit of rounding off. This is a city rake. This is a snowman. It got a bit bent. Um, and it comes with a couple of practice locks. They call them practice locks. But this isn't a practice lock. This is just more really just to demonstrate how a lock works. Because as you can see, this one, couple of goes. I mean, it's made out of plastic. It's not designed to last. Um, but it's sort of going to give you an idea. So, there's a lot of stuff on the market and a lot of stuff that's really expensive. And so, my advice to you is if you're interested in getting into lock sport or any lock picking or anything of the sort, get a cheap set like this. This was the first cheap set I got. And I got a good idea and I managed to open quite a few locks with it. And it wasn't, and I thought, well, okay, so I'm struggling, let's get better picks. And I'm sure a lot of guys sort of hit this wall of like, I'm struggling, let's get better picks. And what invariably is going to happen is you're going to start buying stuff. So stuff that this is exactly what I went through starting the sport. We don't have a lot of resources in South Africa. A lot of the stuff has to be imported. A lot of the stuff you're not going to see, and before you've actually got it, and you don't really know, and you're watching reviews. There's a lot of you can see this rake. I had a good go at it. It raked quite nicely, I got to tell you. It wasn't that bad. You can see it's a bit bent, and but that's fine. And I've shaved them down, and I've tried to get them thinner. They were a bit thick, and so we don't have all these resources. And you look at the reviews on YouTube, and you think, well, that's going to be great. Let me get that. And when it arrives, it's a different story because all these things, there is no magic pick. Well, there are a few, which I'll show you. Uh, but generally, there's no one magic pick, and there's no one magic style. And a lot of guys, like I said in the previous video, they're going to talk about tensioning, they're going to talk about this, they're going to talk about that. So when you've gone through this set and you've decided you want to upgrade, where do we go from there? That's the question. Where do we go from there? And for me, I found that this is great, and I do keep some of these things, but most of them just end up in the drawer or packed away. And I think for me, the first set that I got was the Sparrows expansion set, and that was pretty great. I've got a few sets since, and the whole video, so please bear with me, is about not falling into that trap of I can't open this lock. I need other picks. I need different picks. I need let's try that. Let's try that. Because I mean here you can see even the combs that I bought, and these are Sparrows combs. They're really high quality, and they haven't fitted a single lock in South Africa, and I bought them in South Africa. So all your combs, here's a Sparrows bypass. Let me tell you, you're very seldom going to encounter a padlock or any lock that you can bypass. So shims do not fit. The technology nowadays, there's such few tolerances in padlocks and that shims. Also, I got a set of shims. They also ended up in the bin. They just weren't going to go. This might make new earrings or something. I don't know. It isn't going to work. This stuff is not going to work for you. This is rock sport. It's a different story. So what I did first, and we'll get onto the bags now. Let's just start with the bag and unpack the bag. So we can see this is the bag that I've had made, custom made. You can see it's still, could do with a little bit of refining, but it works. This was our first example. It's a bit bloody big, right? I mean, the guy didn't really understand what it is that I was after, and this thing is huge. I need a backpack to carry it around, so I was like, well, that ain't gonna work. Chuck that on to the next one. This was round 2, getting a bit better, but some of the spaces were a bit tight. And this is the thing with bags, is that it's better to find a local guy and a bit of canvas and have him make it. Actually use for the final one, I use paint mixing sticks, because they are, one paint mixing stick from a paint shop is, you know, the little plastic ones, the size of 2 multi-picks together. So he used them as spaces, and that wasn't going to work. And then I was like, this flap at the top is, you know, we're not making a flag. What we're actually trying to do is, this is what came with the Sparrow Spirit set, something a little bit more elegant, but something that can fit your daily stuff which you're carrying. And that's what we want. So that's how we've ended up with this bag. This has been my latest designs, design number 3. And I quite like this Velcro from the bottom. It works quite well. And there is plastic in there, and there you have your pick set. So the idea here is to steer away from this, because you do not need all of this. This is mental and very expensive. So what I'm going to do is break down stage for stage where you actually want to be, to really advance in lockpicking, because I had a few sets, I bought more picks, and they just weren't working in the locks. As you can see, here's the Euro locks, and these are very common here, and they've got very tight paracentric keyways. A lot of the other locks also, I mean, let's whip out some padlocks. Here's one new one, very tight little keyway there. I mean, there's not a lot that's going to fit in there. There's not a lot that's going to pick it. So the first sort of set I got came with a few tensioners, because until then a lot of guys are using windshield wipers. I do TIG welding, so this is a tensioner made out of 2.4 millimeter stainless steel TIG wire, and it already comes flattened at one end, so the grade of stainless steel is, which you can simply flatten out with a grinder. I like it, it's nice and strong, gives you good feedback on your Eurolock. So that's one of my favorite. If I'm raking a Eurolock or any of these, I'll be using that, because I'm going to get a good grip on it, and I've got a lot of tension control on there. If I'm using the bottom of the keyway, then I'm going to be using these, and these will come with a Sparrows expansion set. I have cut them, and I've cut them down so they can fit in the bottom of that lock. I've cut them so that they just sit away, because one tends to, when you're picking, I tend to, I don't know about you guys, but it's maybe a bad habit, but I kind of tend to, when I'm getting a pick in there, I kind of tend to rest my finger on there, you see. I'm pushing my finger on there, so you don't want to be going and hitting number 1 pin the whole time, and it's not moving because your tension is in the way. So these are quite great. Remember, our keys in South Africa are like in the UK, they are that way around. So bottom of the keyway is what Americans would consider top of the keyway. We have some of the top or bottom of the keyway, I don't know which way of the keyway, but that we use for here, top of the keyway. So I suppose in America, bottom of the keyway. Some of them you can get from Sparrows. They've been quite good. Not that great for me. I'm saying for me because this is just from what I've experienced. So these are the tensioners I've been using a lot. And what happened was that I got myself the Sparrows expansion set. Now what comes with the Sparrows expansion set is in 0.6 millimeters, this twin peak from Sparrows, and you get a 0.6 mil Euro hook, you get a half diamond, and a snake rake. So that's what you're getting with it. And that is a offset hybrid, not a snake rake. The snake rake is hidden in the back here. So that was a great all-round beginner set. So that's really all you need. Now this Twin Peak, now I'm not a fan of, and I'm not saying they're bad, I'm not a fan of Bogota rakes. They're too sharp for me. I'm finding them getting jammed in the lock. Maybe it's just for practice or what, I don't know. I understand that there are a lot of guys, I could be doing it wrong. Who knows? This for me, but for me, a Bogota isn't working. Here is a multi-pick Bogota that I've also had very little success with. This is in 0.4 millimeters, a very good Bogota, triple Bogota, and snake rakes also for me not really, and the city rake has not been, but I got one to just okay, let's complete the set and see. I have raked some locks with a city rake. Now when you get to this point, your Euro hook is usually, unless you got extreme, I mean this is not much, but some quite decent bitting on a keyway. Our BBL locks in South Africa, I've noticed, have started to come out with a tendency to put a very high set. Remember, ours are upside down. Pin number 1, very high set, so you will need deeper hooks. But I start off with this, and then I thought, well, I'm not really getting a lot of locks open. And so let's start looking at other picks. So I'm getting a lot of them, but not a lot. And this is the point where you need to kind of like just stop and take a look at where you're at in your lockpicking experience, because for me, I found that for single pin picking, okay, you can get something deeper, so you go and you buy deeper, and you will find yourself in a situation where it's still not working. You're not getting past there. It's not working for you. You can see here is a ton. I even got the SS Dev set, which I tried to file down. It was too thick. And at this point, what I should have done, instead of throwing a lot more money at it, at picks, I should have bought one of these, because this is the multi-pick practice lock. And at that point, I realized that where I was going wrong was not with the actual hook itself or the rake, it was the thickness, because I wasn't getting a deeper one. Now, in the first pin, you're fine, but when you start moving to the back, your hook is not making its way nicely and cleanly around the warding and back through there. So you're not getting on top of the pins, right? And this was quite expensive. It was 2,000 Rand. So divide that by 24 pounds or dollars roughly. So 2,000 divided by 20 is 1,000. It's 100 euros for this. And it comes with the original key. It's a BKS lock. It's from Germany. And this key actually fits it's the same profile, fits our Euro cylinders, which are very common. I should have bought this, because instead of seeing what am I doing wrong with a profile, you can see what am I doing wrong, the thickness of the pick. So what did I do instead was I went and bought a lot of rakes. I got the Sparrows Medusa, which is a snake rake. And this thing is quite big, and it just doesn't fit any of our locks. So there's very few on your bigger padlocks it's going to fit, but it's not fitting on that. So I have opened a few locks that I have struggled with. It has worked, but it is not really for me. And also quite priced. I mean, they're individually priced, so you don't think it's a lot of money, but trust me, we did a calculation. It all comes to a lot of money. Then I thought I'm going to get the Rook and Knight, King and Queen set. Not just the King and Queen, not just the Rook and Knight, the whole thing. That thing is so bloody huge. There are like, I think the only one I've ever managed to open anything with was that one. I don't even know what piece that is, but none of these are worth your money right now. Okay? They are not worth your money because there are very few locks at that. Or what the hell is that going to go into? How big is this lock? Is this Fort Knox or what? I don't know. So that wasn't working for me. So I went on this complete mission to like, okay, so I suck at single pin picking. I'm going to rake instead because I didn't spend the money and get one of these. Now, I'm thinking when you get one of these, they're all different security pins and you can keep in and you can redo it and you can see what's going on and you can see your security spools and your serrated pins and how they behave and everything. No, for me, the real value in getting this lock has been seeing what the pick does in the lock, because you think you've got yourself a spool pin, but you don't, because you're hitting the side of the lock. You're getting counter rotation that feels like, or if you're getting that rotation that feels like a security spool, but it's not. It's you turning the plug with your pick. So get yourself one of these. Once you've started with your Sparrows expansion set, get yourself one of these. You will save on a lot of this stuff, that you will not be just spending your money willy-nilly on getting stuff. So you've got that now Sparrows expansion set. So then I went on a complete raking mission. And I saw that double peak, their double peak that they've got. So let's get this up to the camera so you can see there's a really nice view of all there. So I went and got the triple peaks. Now the triple peaks came in the Sparrows Spirit set. Also not a bad set. Gives you a Euro hook. You get a triple peak. You get a city rake. You get a snake rake. This half diamond for me is really quite nice. I like to put a bit of tension on, and when you're feeling that spool pin, your half your lock is set. You don't want to be losing pins. I like to keep that tension up, and you can get a bit more onto the pin with that. So for me, great. Then fortunately, I got the Christine Palmer rake set from Sparrows, and these are really quite nice. It's like 4 peaks in large and small, and then a worm rake in large and small, and absolute lockbusters. I mean, this one opened in a few seconds with that. So these are my go-to when I want to rake. That is all you need. That for your raking, and that for your picking, up until you get to something like this. So these are great to have when you really need to get something open. The rest of it, leave it. I have got an extra double peak here, which really has, I think it came with an extra set that I got. One can easily get lost. I got the Sparrows lock decoder. That's the master lock. We have a lot of those boxes here, and this thing works. We got one outside on our gate and didn't know what the code was. Open it just in a few seconds that way, and I was very, very happy with that. So you kind of want to keep your costs down. And what I realized with this lock is that on our tight keyways, our very tight paracentric keyways you're getting in this country, is that these things are not going to help you. You have to go 0.4 millimeters. I don't know what that is in inches. So what I did then, I mean, this is a SS Dev set. I can't do anything with it. I've tried to file it to register, but so then I went back to multi-pick and I thought, let's try different things, because I'm still on the different things bit. We haven't really, gone and delved into the actual hooks. So we got us a couple of 0.6 mil Euro hooks, because I thought, great, I can rake most locks, but I'm hitting a complete roadblock when there's extreme bitting. Those don't work. These not so much. And you're going to get locks. You got to single pin pick them. And that's actually what it's about, single pin picking. So what I did was I then decided to go and look at these DeForest diamonds from, I even got the offset hybrid. That's in 6 mils. Now, to me, there's no difference in the action between that and that. There's no difference. So why are you buying another pick that's doing the same thing? Same thickness, same, no result in there. And there you are, stuck again with another pick in your bag. Now, I'm not saying that's altogether a bad thing. What I'm saying is that you're going to have to get yourself a bigger bag, because that's what you're going to end up with. And you're going to have to get yourself a bigger bank account, because that's what you're going to end up with. So I've tried these two. I decided to get from Multi-Pick. Okay, there's a bigger half diamond there that's offset. Let's go that way. And I'm not too crazy about it. These two little ones are fantastic. They really, I've popped open with a point filmer. I got a 0.4 and a 0.6. Because now I've learned from this, you have to get, if you're getting a pick, get a small one and a big one. So this 0.4 really gets in there, and you can get quite a bit of leverage on it. And they really are quite tough for those full pins, and they give quite good feedback. So I'm quite happy with these DeForest diamonds from Multi-Pick. I actually just got them because they look cool, and because I'm an idiot like that, right? As you can see. So those two, an absolute yes. So we're actually down from this whole set to what I've got over here. So I'm just going to keep that aside and pop that in there. That's what we've got that really is worth it out of this whole set. And then I thought, right, okay, so we've learned that, but now we need to get behind those high set pins. And it arrived today. I haven't really given them a great go, but I got the Sandman expansion sets from Multi-Pick. And remember, I'm an idiot. So I have got them in 2 different versions. So you get a medium hook, and then you get a sort of smaller Euro hook, and you get, let's just get the round ones, small, medium, and deep. It's your Sandman expansion set. I got these in 0.4 millimeters because as I'm starting to grow with single pin picking, and let me tell you, just getting this lock was a game changer. I was opening locks that were in the naughty bucket since I just started. I couldn't get them done. And then someone got them. Also, we use that word here, summer, it just means because why not? With the round tip and the flat tip, because you're paying a lot in shipping. And honestly, when it comes to single pin picking, that's all you need. Those in 0.4 and those in 0.6. So I didn't get them because I have them in 0.6. I got them in 0.4 millimeters that I can attack these Euro locks. And I have been getting them with a relatively large amount of success. I can't say I'm completely unhappy with them. And so that's really all you need. I've tried the curved spoon on what? It's too thick to get. I actually thought this was going to be for baggage locks, but no. And of course, loads of tensioners. Now, back to the Chinese set. Remember, the Chinese sets are never a bad thing, because what's going to happen is some of the stuff is going to continue. You're going to continue to use it. It came with a little Y tensioner. I love this little thing. It's nice and small, and you can put it in your bag and off you go. So that's really all you need. The rest is bullshit. That's what it is. It's bullshit. That is bullshit. That, not really. I mean, you're not really going to find a lock that you're not going to be able to tackle with the 0.6 mil version of that. I mean, it just, you're not going to find it. What has carried over is there's been a few things. That one, nope. Mucky extractor. That's still from the first set I got. That's great. And then I got an ABUS lock bypass. Now, this is really, you can see it's like a little flag that goes up like that. It's completely useless for bypassing, but what I have had, and it's something that has existed, your cam clutch in here, that's the clutch, and that's the cam. I've had these separate like that. This is actually the one that separated, and it was from ABUS, a very expensive lock here, and that separated and actually bricked the whole thing, and then that just hung down like that. It hung straight down, so you couldn't turn the key in the lock, you couldn't open the door because that was down. And what I found is that can be used to manipulate these clutches back together and in position, so you can open it. That's an actual real live event that happened when they're back together, and that's how that thing works. That only the one key works from the one side or the other side, so they don't lock themselves up. So that's really all you're looking at. When you're looking at your hooks, you need a shallow, medium, deep in 0.4 and 0.6. Your Christina Palmer rakes, which are, I don't know, maybe I'm just steering away from the Lock Noob stuff more towards the Christina Palmer stuff. I just found a little bit more elegant and a little bit better. When I compare, this is the Sparrows Triple Peak to the Bogota Triple Bogota. The Bogota seem to be a favorite of Lock Noob together with the Snake Rake. The Snake Rake I haven't had a lot of success with. Bogota's not, but this Triple Peak also a total blockbuster. Then, just still on the what's in the kit side of this video, because I've had a few oaks ask, now in this bag, and what's that all about, and this kit, and all of this. This is a multi-pick automotive wave rake. Have had a bit of a success with it, but I haven't really given a lot of go. We have a lot of cars, but I don't want to go damaging locks just yet, so I need to get to the scrappers and get a whole lot of locks and give it a go. I think that is going to be the best for it. And then I've got myself, which I don't have with me right now, a plug spinner. And I'll tell you why I've got a plug spinner. There's a very good reason for that. You see, this is quite a common setup we've got in South Africa. Now, you don't need to be spending a lot of money on stuff here. Your picks, you want to get yourself some decent ones, like I said, 0.5 and 0.6, decent rakes, and then maybe, a half diamond, or try some of these deforest diamonds. Man, I've enjoyed them. It was always a 50-50. If you don't really know the pick, and you can't always trust the reviews, but yeah, this one opened a Yale lock, which from day one didn't want to open. Nothing wanted to open this Yale lock, and nothing was going to open it. It wasn't going to happen until I got that. So I'm quite happy with that. Let's just get a bit of water here. And then on the multi-pick lock, what I did was I made a pinning tray, because why are you spending 900 Rand on a pinning tray when you can make it? There's genuinely no point to spending such large amounts of money on what, piece of wood like that does the job. That circular saw, the pins sit on top here, so you can actually compare sizes. Here you can put your key pins, driver pins, and then I just dump out this box into there, and then I cut a little groove. This is just with a router. You can see it over here. This is the Dremel with the router bit, and I got the router bit for my birthday. Very happy about that. And you can kind of fashion your own kind of pinning tray. That's all you need. Don't need anything more fancy than that. So yeah, I found myself now with all these picks, and when really, you don't really throw away a pick. That's because there's always a use for it somewhere. You may not know what that use is, but there's always a use for it somewhere. And there's always that one lock that you can't get open, and that particular pick works. So that's why I like to keep them all in here. It does all compact up. And then I got myself a Klon. Look, I got a GoSo plug spinner off AliExpress. It was cheap, and it does the job. I mean, it spins the plug. That's what it does. So I got that, and that came with a ton of see, that's because I couldn't single pin pick. Because I didn't buy this, I ended up having to buy everything else. If I just bought that, it would have cost a lot in the beginning, and I would have bought picks that would work on that lock instead of trying to rake. But, we live, you learn, and you lose a lot of money. That's what this is about, losing money. And so I got this. Look, it's a great little pick gun. I know there's been some bad reviews. And yeah, it's not the greatest of machining, but I mean, the bloody price of this thing compared to, there's no comparison. Like 600 Rand versus 4,000 Rand for the whatever Oxford pick gun. I'm not spending 4,000 Rand on a pick gun. It comes with a ton of attachments. Why? I don't know. But it also comes with these little probes. Now, I've been asked about these before, which is why I'm going into it. And I found a very good use for them. Apart from, I don't know what, poking stuff. What are you going to poke? I don't know. But I got a lot of them. So we're going to use them. Like I said, we don't throw anything away. That will always come in handy. So just to top it off, we've made this little pouch on the top, because in the pouch is this little bag. And there's see, you don't need fancy stuff. You can make this stuff. This is from a name badge. It's a name badge magnet. And actually, when I put that in there, and then in there, and I whack this up on a security gate, it holds the whole thing open. It actually hangs it successfully. That's great. And inside here, I like to keep, again, you don't need to buy the whole range. You can just get a few. I've got the wafer picks from Sparrows. Really, these two work with a lot of cabinet locks and stuff that they work on. And it's actually a jiggler and wafer pick. And then I've got the auto jigglers. Have had success with these. You don't need more than that. Really, you don't need the whole set. You just need that. And this is still remnants from the old Chinesium set, which I keep in here. There's 2 wafers. This one, I've opened cars, all sorts of. I've opened a safe with that. The safe was a keypad safe with a little wafer lock on the side. With that and that, opened it up and safe open. And then I made myself a little tiny little hook for baggage locks. And then these Chinese sets come with a wafer rake and a wafer dimple lock. And I just took a Dremel and I sanded that down and sanded it down. And because I thought, we don't get a lot of wafer dimple locks here. We don't get a hell of a lot. There's really no point. I mean, if you can find one first to really get into picking them. So that was more. And then this BBL bicycle lock, which I've had. Now, BBL is quite a good brand here, and I've managed to rake it with that and a tensioner. So I keep these in there, and that's part of the daily carry. This is. I hope this is sort of guiding you guys into like not overspending really on kit. It's always nice to get new kit. I'll the first to admit it. I like to invest a lot. I put over 20 grand into just learning to TIG weld, and these things will eventually pay off. So I do like to invest in equipment. It's always paid off. Um, and it's nice to have a full array like this. Is it necessary? No. Is it expensive? Fuck yes. So, guys, that's where you want to be spending your money. It didn't come in this case, um, but that's where you want to be spending your money, because that's where you're going to be saving your money. Is learning to pick properly with that lock. The best way to mount for me, I mean, let's not go buy lock vices. It's a piece of wood, it's a drill press vice that goes in there. This cost 150 rand, again divided by 20, so it costs nothing. And this gives you a real world scenario of what's happening with your Euro cylinders. It's also a nice way to mount that so it doesn't get damaged on anything. And then when it's like this, you can resist the urge to take a peek and see what's going on. Sometimes you can resist the urge, most times not, but you can pin a lock and go for it. I do keep one side original so I can turn this and take it out, because you may put that in such a manner. I mean, look, it does come with a very some high sets and everything there, so you can struggle with that as it is. So I haven't really changed the key pins. And what's nice is the back pin is the binding pin. So that is the so here's another that's great. Look, it's just great. It's worth every penny. It's been a game changer for me. For me, I've learned more about the picks, and I've learned more about what I need to buy, and I've learned more about what I do not need to buy, and I do not need to spend a large amount of money on a set of picks that I'm never going to use. They are not working for me. I've got what's working for me. So I do, like I say, kind of lean a bit more towards the Christina Palmer side of things than anything else, and each their own on that, I guess. So on to these. Here's a real world situation. So what happens is of course your driver pin sitting in the Bible. You know that by the time we reach this stage. So in order to pick this lock, you have to turn that plug twice. So you have to pick it twice. And that's not all. What happens when that comes around from there around to there? You've got an opening here in the keyway. And I found that the driver pins go into there and they lock it up. Now, usually you can just rake them out with your Euro hook. You can just give it a good drag and push them down. And that was when I was just putting the Euro cylinder in the vise. Then when I got this set, now I'm quite lucky because I'm a handyman and I've got quite a big spend in a relationship with our local hardware, which is a very big hardware, and they're privately owned. So when they get locks returned because they bought the wrong lock or whatever, I generally get locks in a condition like that. Sometimes they came without a keys, sometimes it's an Abus that doesn't have a key. They put it all in a box and I pay about £10 for the whole box of locks. And then a month later I go back and all the returns, open packages, there's nothing wrong with the locks, perfectly good locks, but I pay for the whole thing. So this came in the last bunch, which cost 150 rand, is about £7. And it's been fantastic to hold it. But now I found that this thing is putting up some resistance at the point, because now the cam is starting to pull back the bolt. Now what's happening is, first off, I'm bending my favorite Euro tension wrench. So I got one of these from a cheap set and I pop it in there. And then I take this little probe and I whack it in there. So what that is essentially doing is it's preventing, because it's going in there, and it is preventing the driver pins from shooting up into the plug and disturbing your turn. I think disturbing your turn is the best way to phrase it, because when you're at that point where you are turning it, you're also actually moving the lock. Okay, what hasn't happened here is I've not actually caught on the cam because that hasn't gone through. But you get the general idea. You can now turn it without the driver pins shooting up into there. And that for me is a bit of a bonus. So what I'm going to do is just give this a turn, back up, and let's give it a go. So this one, we know now we've pushed the clutch across, because that thing moves. It's actually the key. What you should do with your rake or something is just give it a good bang in there and make sure that indeed you have pushed the clutch across. Otherwise you're just turning the plug. And I don't remember which one I used for this initially. And as I say, the camera always adds a few minutes to the lock. So let's actually try the triple on this, because that's quite great. I think this could well be one of those a few moments later videos, because I initially rated with this one. That old camera definitely adds a few seconds on, eh? So there we go. We've got it right. And now we just need our little tool. As you can see, these sparrows, this rake set is great. We pop that in there. Now, when it's going through the bottom bit, and if you really can see, that's when your binder pins are going to jam, but your lock is busy, as you can see. So a useful little thing, just pop a probe in there and you can turn it, and that really is all you need. And then of course a plug spinner. I've got a Goso plug spinner. I mean, these guys are like my favorite plug spinner. And you know what, a plug spinner is a plug spinner. It's spinning the plug. That's what it's doing. It doesn't need to do any more than that. You just kind of need to figure out how many clicks to set it back, put it in there, spins it over, and you repeat. And then you maintain that position, your sort of here at 11 o'clock, and at 1 o'clock to get the lock out, because it's not complete until the lock is out. So mounting it like that has given me a lot more of a real world experience, and these are all things that you can generally get at any hardware store. You can get to this thing off Amazon or wherever, very common, and that's a hell of a lot cheaper than the fancy lock stuff. So guys, I really hope this video helps, and thanks for watching.